We're on here, everything good? All right, I'll call this meeting of the General Government and Finance Committee to order at 5:31 PM. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration. Roll call, all members are present except for Trustee Pieper. And with that, we'll move on to item 3, citizen input. Please come up to the podium, fill out a yellow slip that gives your name and address. And please try to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
She's not on WebEx, is she? Jolie?
I don't know.
Is anyone on WebEx?
Does anybody know if anybody's on WebEx? Oh, okay.
Good evening, Sarah Larson, Butternut Road. Are we good? Oh. It sounds a little echoey from here for some reason. Okay. So my comment tonight surrounds an item that was brought to the village board at the October 7th meeting. It was the MLG agreement for the easement for the High Point Pass road, as well as the sanitary sewer location. And it went straight from Public Works to the village board, which I believe was done in error. This body makes the financial decisions and recommendations. And from some research that I've been doing, no appraisal was done on the MLG property to determine what the value of the land was that Germantown was going to be getting in exchange for allowing the sewer to be on there. And I think given that there is no developer immediately ready to develop that land, there's a much different value in land undeveloped just sitting there as opposed to a year or two down the road when there may actually be a party. I know that extending a sewer line is classified as a line extension and is priced significantly different. And so why should we be bearing this? I'm wondering, where is the accounting entry? Because this is going to be a huge loss for the village. Granted, this falls within the TID and probably will be buried under all of those other expenses, but you were not given the cost of the sewer extension. There was no analysis of potential connection fees that we are going to be missing out on, because it's my understanding that anyone who develops in that area will not be subjected to the connection fee, which is based on their anticipated water and sewer volume. So just as a for instance, for a residential, let's say that becomes a residential development, that would be just shy of $6,000 per residence that the village is going to be losing out on because we've made this agreement without doing a financial analysis of it. I think you probably are in violation of the ordinance by having that go directly to the village board without any financial analysis. And so I'm assuming that our group probably hasn't recorded that easement as of yet. And I would ask that it be brought back and vetted by GGF before those agreements actually get executed, because I think there is a loss that needs to be accounted for within our finances. And as it stands, it would currently be buried. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is anyone else coming forward for public comment?
Got 3 seconds. Woo.
All right, Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. Just a couple of quick things. I found an old format for contracts that I've provided to Matthew Uselding as an example of the way in which contracts were tracked and reported previously. I think it's from probably an Excel spreadsheet. And I think this might help in providing further information about expiration dates, departments that the contract is associated with, and things like that. So I've just asked him to take a look and see if that's something that can be added into the wonderful Tyler Munis system that we have. The second thing is, as I noticed on the village board meeting later today, there's some closed session meetings about the village center. And it looks like we've moved on from Grey Wolf by talking with Bailey Copeland on this item. And I've previously asked what the $55,000 that was spent on phase 3 for the village center was for. And I'm asking again, because I think we should know what our money is going towards and what is happening with the village center. So I would hope that this would become transparent as an issue, and that these things, these activities that the neighborhood meetings have not yet been held for, are brought forward so that people can see what's being thought about. So I'm requesting the information about the phase 3 village center project and what that contract $55,000 was spent on, because it seems like you've moved on from the Grey Wolf people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
I'm Scott Effley, W159 and 10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. A couple of brief comments. Reviewed the materials, agree with the bump in pay for the fire department administrative assistant. Kind of looked over that. She clearly has a wide range of job duties that go well beyond what she was hired for and even what she was added onto. She seems to be doing a little bit of everything. So I think that's fair. I agree with the ARPA dollars being allocated to the squad changeovers discussed at the village board meeting. Since I'm a financial guy, you can only imagine how much I'm in favor of creating an asset manager position that DPW director is asking for, and for the first time getting a true picture of our asset list. Leaving it up to superintendents isn't fair and can lead to them having pet projects and things that they want every year for borrowing. So having a person to make an actual list, having life cycle analysis, depreciation schedules, all those accounting things that may be construed as boring but soak up a lot of people's time, so we get a true picture of what we have, what we need, and perhaps maybe we can put a curb on borrowing rather than having to borrow $3.5 million every year for various things. The final thing is, I saw the RFP for legal. I have a couple issues with it. I don't think it should be handled by the administrator. I think Erin Hearn should handle it because she's in HR. Why do I say that? Because I know this, the trustees up there remember, probably everyone else. The administrator brought forth an idea in the middle of the budget year, around February, that he wanted the village board to add our attorney as a permanent employee with the village of Germantown for a just a salary of $100,000 plus benefits. I recall Trustee Kaminsky and other trustees were not in favor of that in the middle of a budget year. I don't think that that reflects on impartiality to bring forth somebody. I don't like it handled that way. I'd rather have Mrs. Hearn handle it. So I think it's a conflict of interest. He's obviously was promoting our attorney, and we're trying to get an objective view of whether we should keep our attorney or have a new attorney. So I would like this committee is charged with vetting, and she should bring it to you, and then you should discuss it and then tell the village board what you think, because we need impartiality. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Hahn?
Should work.
Not sure the speakers or the mic is on.
Double check it.
Is there anyone else wishing to come forward? All right, if not, we will move on to consent agenda. Item A, the minutes of September 16th, 2024.
Move approval. I'll second for discussion.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes of September 16th. Discussion, trustee Jan Miller.
Yes, please.
Now they're on.
Now they're on. Oh, your boy. Nothing was recorded.
It's recorded in the minutes.
Mm, Okay, but we'll talk about that. Okay. Um, I just wanted to make a couple of remarks about the minutes, and I'm requesting, for example, on the citizen input from September 16th, which would have been last month. We have the item, Sarah Larson spoke on unfinished business item A and new business items A and B. And I would ask that we could actually put a description to the A and B whenever that occurs. And I'll tell you why, because they're completely different subjects. So just a quick line item like the unfinished business A was professional services, I believe, and new business was issuing geo bonds, and B was fire department administrative pay. So I think those are big distinctions. So if we could make sure we add at least the description of that, since we're not giving a lot of detail. Then I wanted to point out that due to technical difficulties, wait, on minutes, amend the minutes that the Economic Development Washington County EDWC was cut short due to technical difficulties. That is true, but I wanted to make a point that the EDWC presentation went, instead of coming back here, it went directly to the village board, okay? I don't know what we need to do to make sure that happens. And then we asked for contracts that are 5 years or older should be brought to the committee for review. So the ask is Matt Uselding, is there a column, because that is so small that you can do it by year? Just say, we've got 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, and then put it in an Excel file so that we can sort it from top to bottom, oldest to most current. I think that would be really helpful for us.
Yeah, I think,
Are we there?
not to get off topic, but I think in the Excel file, there is an approved date column that has the date that the contract was approved.
Okay,
I could sort it by oldest to newest if you'd like.
yeah, okay. And I just want to make sure that under B, shortening village board meetings, I think we need to get that on the village board agenda. Does that make sense? Okay. And the, what does this say? 7 problems there. Okay. And those were the items that I wanted to point out. So thank you. With that, could you just update that and then we can approve it?
We need a motion for those updates.
I'd like to move we make the updates, please. And then one at a time, motion one at a time, right?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Village clerk, do you have that list? Were you taking notes for, well, Jan was asking for those updates?
For these just now?
Yeah, for the ones just now. Okay, just wanted to make sure you had that information before, prior to.
And I can copy this for you, Donna, if you want.
May I?
Yes,
Oh, thank you. The EDWC, this was previously spoken about in a previous meeting to say that it was cut short due to technical difficulties.
Yeah.
We
it
made
was.
that amendment, and now it's my understanding you're asking to make another amendment?
Yes, just that it was moved to the village board.
That
I
was
think-
not a part of that original motion when that amendment was
No.
made.
No.
It was not a part of the original motion. The motion at that time was just to note that due to technical difficulties. And I would just like to remind each committee, commission, and board that it is not the responsibility, nor has this board directed, nor has it been done in the past, that minutes are done verbatim. So specific comments from residents our job when we're doing the minutes is to make sure that we are summarizing the motions made. We are not picking and choosing whose comment was more important or relevant. That is not the job of the clerk's office to do that. In fact, most communities and their attorneys would advise against verbatim minutes. Again, it's a summary of the meeting. So when we talk about adding individuals' comments in there, I just want to be mindful that our clerk's responsibility is to do summaries of the motions made.
Yeah, I don't think the recommendation was for the comments. It was for
No.
the topic.
It's a
Yes.
topic.
So whenever we look at the minutes and it was regarding discussion regarding new business, when you look at the agenda, you can see what what item A is. So it was discussion revolving item A under new business or old business. So they were discussing, their comments were made regarding that item.
Understood. The only difficulty with this is I have to go back to the original agenda to figure out what A and B was. Okay, so that's why I just,
Sure.
if it's to do with A is really budget or something like that, that's all I'm asking. Whatever is in the description, just be
Understood.
listed.
And if that
Okay.
is the direction
Thanks.
of this committee tonight, I'm happy to do that. And we'll
Okay.
make sure that my deputy clerks understand the same if that is the motion that's made. The other items were the discussion for adding back to the village, that was not on the minutes, the village board shortening meetings. I think that was, what was it about the minutes that need to be amended as a
Nothing there. It was a
It was just a comment,
comment?
Yeah,
comment, and
but thanks.
that's really up to the village president when he puts that on the agenda for the.
So
village
that was
board.
no amendment to these particular minutes.
Just really that first.
Understood.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we will look at the amended minutes of the meeting then, and we already have a motion. So any other comments about the minutes? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will move on. Hold on here, sorry. Gotta get to my agenda. There we go. Move on to unfinished business item A, Fire Department Administrative Pay, Manager Pay. And Administrator Kreckville is coming for this one? Backup if needed.
Yes, yeah, we have Battalion Chief Asmund here. If there's questions that I can help out with, Fire Chief Delane was unable to be here tonight. But this was an item that was on the last agenda. The committee requested some additional information, including job descriptions. There's quite a bit in the packet, maybe in hindsight, a little bit more than what you were looking for. I will make a couple of comments from my perspective on this particular position. I think that it is that the responsibilities have grown significantly over the past several years as the fire department has grown and shifted from primarily paid on call to a full-time fire department. Two areas in particular that I would point out to the committee are one, payroll. The payroll responsibilities for this position are some of the more complicated, probably the most complicated in the village, working through scheduling, overtime calculations, et cetera, for fire departments, full-time firefighters, which are under a different set of Fair Labor Standards Act requirements than general village employees. And then the second area is really on ambulance billing and the third-party collection contract, where, as you recall, that contract changed recently, and this position has taken on some additional responsibilities in that area. So with that and other changes in mind, I would recommend that the increase be granted as requested.
All right, committee. Trustee Jan Miller.
I have some questions about just I don't know if you guys will be able to answer these questions on, I think what is it says objective, and job duties and responsibilities. Mr. Freckle, I think you probably saw this, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So what is it's in that packet and it's page 6 of that description. And it says on the bottom of the page, scope of responsibility. On the bottom, it says elected and appointed boards and committees list types of communication that invoice for board and appointed committees. And I just wanted to elaborate that Amy comes to I believe she comes to the public safety
Correct.
meetings and does the minutes, so that you might want to include that.
Yeah, that is, and the page that you're looking at is the original job description, and that is something that's new as well, that she has taken on that responsibility for public safety, where she's staffing the public safety committee. So that,
Right.
I appreciate you mentioning that. That's
Okay.
one-
I didn't want it, it's a big part of it, and I
Yeah,
didn't want
yeah.
it missed.
Nope, I
And,
agree.
and then on page 8, I don't know what kind of a question this is. It says F. Does the position perform duties that are safety sensitive or duties that could create a risk of harm to others if the employee is under the influence of illegal drugs or alcohol?
And what you're looking at is a questionnaire that's used to gather information that goes in to the job description. So that's one of the factors that we collect information on.
So you're not allowed to have illegal drugs or alcohol on the job, I'm pretty sure.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I just want to know if that was still, yeah, so I don't know the relevance of it. Although if you were intoxicated anyway, you'd have a problem. Anyway, I think that, I have no idea what page this is. It's after 10, I'm guessing 11. They said, her description was with network administration. What do you mean by that? You've got Steve Stores in here, and I think a lot of people don't know who he was.
Yeah, this was the old job description.
Correct.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about this?
Correct. That was,
Just, so just to give a little history, the committee wanted this to come back with the previous job description.
Oh, and then the
job
new one.
description.
So
That's what you're looking at, is the previous job description.
So then when we go to the administrative assistant on pay, for the pay grade 10, this is the
Mhm.
start of the new one.
That's the start of the
Okay.
new one, yep.
All right. So I don't know if this is important, but Tyler Munis was not mentioned. But would that be any computer system or?
and that is an area that, that this position does deal with as well. And that hasn't, the position was always dealing with accounts payable, for example, which is what she does in Tyler Munis. The tool that she's been using for that has changed, but the role and responsibility has not changed dramatically there.
Okay, then we get to a page where there's actually a grid, the 1 through 12. And the description is, on this one, the description of the pay grade was to escalate it to 10. So the next page is dated 2020.
Yeah, and as I
That
said,
was
there
the-
was a.
This is the new, is this the old and this
That-
still the
that's-
old?
That's the old, that's the
Okay.
old. What the request
All right.
is, under the current pay grades, to go from a 1 to a 2.
Okay, then we get to the one that's dated 1/1/20. 2020? Is this the one that is correct?
Keep going.
Oh,
Keep going.
2024?
And as I said, I
That's fine.
apologize, we probably included too much information in that, but
This one, 7/15/2024.
Correct.
All right. So it's got the current. Is that the current with the upgrade? That's what I'm trying to figure out. It says in this grid, it has communication coordinator, police department clerk, administrative assistant, fire. And then it has 49,608. 6 years, 6 months.
and the request would be to move to a pay grade 2, which would be more consistent with the planning and zoning administrative assistant. I believe is a 2. Trying to recall what other positions are a 2, but this would move her from a 1 to a 2. And the recommended pay increase was, I believe it was $26 an hour.
Mm.
From, I think the current pay is approximately $23.50.
So what you're looking
So-
at there is Amy's open records request to find out a comparison of the salaries.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So is this the new salary then?
Oh, keep going.
I could get through that and then, oh, Here.
Oh, back one.
I don't have another one. Wait, I might. No, I have the ARPA.
Oh.
Sorry, I missed that one. So can you net it out for us? What are we approving?
It would be changing the pay grade from a 1 to a 2 with an
Okay.
adjustment in pay from current rate at about $23.50 to $26 per hour.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
So annually, $26 an hour.
4,000.
Yeah, the increase would be about 4,000.
What was in the packet?
Okay.
So it's 54 versus administrative public.
Yeah.
Is that going to create an issue with the other people now? Because I mean, what I hate is this domino effect thing.
Right.
You know,
Each job is distinctly different.
yeah. I mean, what we really try to look at is, and these requests come through on a regular basis to the support services manager, to myself. And what we really try to look at before we bring something forward to the board is, was there a change in the job responsibilities that warrants a change from
Okay.
one classification to
Good.
another?
Okay, I get it.
If you
As
go-
long as we know that's a fact, and it looks like it is, she has a lot more responsibility here. I'm comfortable with this. I will make a motion to increase her pay to $26 an hour and put her into a grade 2 salary category.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion on the table to approve the pay grade to level 2. If you go a couple more pages, trustee Kaminsky, there was a comparison and it really compares her to the planning coordinator and just slightly under that. So I would say that is parallel.
I think that's a good slot. That's a good fit. And again, I apologize, there was probably too much information in the packet this time, so
I never can have too much information. It's
All
fun to
right.
see us all confused.
And we have her resume included as well, so we've got everything. So any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item B, unfinished business, ARPA update.
In your packet is the monthly ARPA update. You'll note all the funds except about $26,000 have been allocated to different projects throughout the village, with the last one being the squad upgrade, which I believe is on the village board agenda for tonight.
Yeah, I saw it. It is on the agenda tonight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which then leaves $1,460.
Correct.
Mhm.
Wow,
That's great. Well,
what to do with that?
good. Any comments, questions?
No.
All right. Quick update this time. Thank you, Matthew. Move on to new business, item A, resolution authorizing 2025 non-union merit pool.
So this resolution comes before you every year. This is just requesting the amount of money that has been discussed during the budget. It's $137,854. That would be go into a pool for our performance evaluations for 76 employees.
Trustee Kaminsky.
First of all, make a motion to approve to do this correctly, just get it on the floor.
I'll second for
And then,
discussion.
my comment was looking at the evaluation score max base pay. At your formula here, this looks the same as last year, am I correct? Okay.
Yes. The only thing that's not in there is the one-time bonus. It's not there. So, but this is the same as last year's. Yes, correct.
There is no one-time bonus.
Correct.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah, trustee Jan Miller.
This goes into a pool
Correct.
and this is merit pay
Correct.
increase. So everyone is evaluated and you get a bucket, a small bucket out of this. So I just want to clarify, I think that can we say in this resolution up to 137,854? Because what if it isn't used? What if we've had a few rough spots and they're only at 2 and everybody in the department is 2 or whatever?
It would just stay in the bucket then throughout the year.
It just stays there? Okay. So then it is up to 137, not to exceed.
Was there carryover last year
Yeah.
in the bucket?
I don't believe so. I think Matthew would have to look into that, but
Okay.
I don't believe so.
No, no, not to my recollection.
I just had a question on the timing. So the 2025 budget was not approved yet,
Mhm.
but we are going to authorize this pool. Is that because of the next business item, which is the employees union local contract at all?
No, nope, it's.
So
not.
that's separate from that?
Correct. Yep.
I wasn't sure if
this
it
is just for-
piggybacked. I know these are for non-union, but I wasn't sure if that was part of this. So,
Nope.
okay.
And,
Yeah, Jan.
and then where does this show up, this pool, in our budget? Would that be
So
Matt?
there's a line in the non-departmental budget.
Right.
Oh,
I
that
think it might be
non-departmental.
called performance adjustment or cost of living adjustment in the non-departmental budget.
Does that get reallocated then later? Or does that stay in there as far as the raises go?
It should get reallocated out to the departments.
I thought so. Trustee Kaminsky.
Quick comment, if it would make sense, I would amend my, I'd include in my amendment, assuming the budget is passed. I think to make this clean, if that's okay with the second. If you would just
I
add
agree
that.
with the amendment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good idea. All right, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we'll move on to resolution approving the 2025 Germantown Municipal Employees Union Local 730 contract.
I'm actually going to request to remove this from the agenda and put it on the next GGF,
Okay,
if it's okay.
So
I'll
we
make,
should-
make a motion.
yeah.
I'll make a
motion.
motion to remove this item from this month's,
Let's make a motion to postpone.
Till next
postpone.
month. Yeah.
till next month,
Second.
please.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, draft legal services request for proposals.
This is my item again. I have included in the packet a draft RFP that I put together just for the committee's background, I did get about 4 or 5 different RFPs for legal services that other municipalities had issued, and I took pieces of them that I thought were good and relevant to Germantown, and then pieced it together into the draft that you have before you. One process thing that I guess I would mention in particular is based on some of the public comments that were brought up. This isn't a contract that I or anyone else on staff would award. This is basically, whether it's me or other staff who I would, assign to assist me in the process. We would basically put together information and present that to the committee and then ultimately the village board. And usually we do include a recommendation, and sometimes the board takes that recommendation, sometimes the board doesn't. So that would be my recommendation in this case too, that we follow that similar process. It also is why I'm bringing this to the committee at this point. So at the very beginning of the process, if there's other criteria or things that you would like to look at, you can see that right up front. But including any input that you all have this evening, the plan would be to release this RFP sometime later on this week, and then have the results back to GGF in November and before the village board in December. So I'm happy to answer any questions and take any input that the committee has.
I think trustee Jan Miller had her hand
Yeah.
up early.
Well, first of all, the dates were off. I mean, today is the 21st and the draft says it was, sent the 16th or something. And it shouldn't be that way. It should come before us, right? And when are you, I don't think we're going to have another meeting till approximately
Mid-November.
mid-November. So that would be the earliest that it would, we would be able to take a look at it. Also, I just want to, I don't know if this had any impetus, but I wanted to let the members know, the board, that I requested the current legal contract in August and September, and it wasn't presented. And then Friday, you presented me with some, it looked like MOUs. Would you agree to that? They looked like.
Yeah, I sent to you the documents that the village board approved in the original contract with our current village attorney in 2011, along with a memo that increased the rates for the current attorney from $90 an hour to $120 an hour in 2016.
And currently, the village of Germantown is paying the 120?
That's correct.
And and our attorney, Jack Dack, has been our attorney since 2011.
That's correct.
Okay. But none of those letters went directly to you, right?
Both of those actions took place before I was with the village, yes.
Okay. This was, as I was reviewing this was my thought. Since you are talking with an attorney on a weekly basis, correct, here at the village, I also question checks and balances. And for an RFP, I didn't think of Aaron, but I thought perhaps at least the village clerk could do the, send it out, get the information, and then compile it for you or for a group. And I think that's something that should be considered.
Well, before we get into that, Steve, I'd like to hear what the process would be for receiving the proposals.
Sure. And let me just comment on the dates. The October 16th was the date that I finalized the draft. So I would update these to reflect the date that it actually goes out. Probably today's the 21st, probably the 23rd. To correct my statement, I think it would be coming back to GGF at the December meeting, and then going to contract award for the village board at the first meeting in January. On an interim step, what I would do with this contract, and this is what I do with other contracts as well, I don't like to have one person, whether it's me or anyone else, being the sole evaluator of these, and I like to get different perspectives. I would say that in addition to me, the primary interactions with the village attorney would include the village clerk, the community development director, the public works director, and the police chief. And I would ask them to participate in a review of proposals, and like we've done with past proposals that have come before the board, score them on a summary of all of the opinions that are involved, not only mine, and then through that make a recommendation to the committee and the board.
Right, and we would still receive all the proposals that were submitted.
You would receive all the proposals, yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Jan, do you have others?
Go ahead.
You have something else?
Just that I did notice that is the village attorney actually spending 4 to 8 weeks in the office here in the village hall? Is that what you mean by village office?
Yeah, he has office hours here, 4 to 8 hours a week. It's on Thursdays, and he generally gets here at 8 o'clock. He doesn't leave any earlier than noon, and depending upon issues, he may spend the afternoon here participating in meetings as well. In addition, he's available by phone and Teams meeting the remainder of the week. And then, as you know, he attends village board meetings and provides assistance during those meetings.
And all of those instances are billable hours, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And does Attorney Sajdak, does he preside over the municipal court? I've never been there.
He does not preside over it. He does, his firm serves as a prosecutor
Okay.
for municipal violations. So sometimes it is Attorney Sajdak, other times it's other attorneys from his law firm.
At the same rate?
Yes.
And so the timeline needs to be updated. And I still feel better having a second person, another person doing the gathering. I know you're a busy guy. And that's what those are all my questions. Go ahead.
All right, Trustee Kaminsky.
I totally trust your judgment on this, Steve. I've been through this already once before. I don't know what all the smoke and mirrors is about. I really don't. I think you should spearhead it and have your committee review the proposals that come in. We always see every single proposal and we could choose one that nobody else likes. That's what we do on the village board. So I think the direction you're going in is perfect. And I think this is extremely thorough RFP that will hopefully not scare anybody away, but this is what we require. And I remember that from last time. The big thing is to show up for these meetings. And may the cards fall where they may, who the best person is at the best price. But I think this is great, and I know you don't require any movement on this, so that's all I'm going to say, but we don't need a motion or anything, correct?
Correct.
Question, Steve, is our contract with Attorney Sajak himself or with his firm?
With his firm.
Okay, so there would be I mean, there's a possibility that we would have another attorney sitting here on a night.
It is, and in fact, I think if you go back and you read the original agreement from 2011, it did anticipate that there could be other attorneys, I think.
Primary, but then there could be an alternate at some
Correct.
point.
Correct. And that is very possible that ends up being the result of this as well.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I agree with Trustee Kaminsky is that, you know, this is pretty common for the administrator to manage stuff like this and then get the department heads to review it and make recommendations because they're the ones that are going to be utilizing him probably more than the village board does. So, and we will get all the recommendations, so I don't think there's any issue with the collection of this. Trustee Jan Miller.
And just one final comment. It is recommended that you always have a contract with an attorney. So is that our goal, to have an actual contract?
Yes,
Because that's what we're talking about.
yes.
It is unusual that there isn't a contract. So I wanted to make that point. And I asked another attorney on that.
I think oftentimes in smaller communities, things are done a little bit more informally, but I think that definitely for the village of Germantown at 2024, we should have a contract in place.
2025. Right.
And 2025, yes.
Right. So do we need some sort of an interim contract or MOU? That's what I'm asking.
I don't think that that's necessary.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll move on then to item D, approval of job description and pay classification for the DPW Asset Management and Operations Specialist position. Who's taking this one?
Probably Matt.
All right, yeah, thank you. We're looking to place this position, should it be approved as part of the budget, as a pay grade 4 position. That lines up pretty well with the entry-level civil engineer position that we have in our department in terms of the educational and experience components of the job, and just above like the engineering technicians. So I think it's a good fit for the position in terms of other jobs in our department. And then just looking kind of at this type of position across other departments in the state and the country, it fits in fairly well there too.
Great committee, Trustee Kaminsky.
For the sake of doing this correctly, once again, I will make a motion to approve this at the job classification rate as requested.
I'll second.
And
Go ahead.
Discussion.
and now, discussion being, tell me what a day in the life of this person is exactly like. I mean, there's no endpoint where everything's analyzed and he's done 3 years from now, right? Or 2 years from now. And what is his ongoing role and what's a day in the life of?
I mean, there's certainly a point where, you know, not 2 or 3 years, but maybe 5 or 10 years down the road, we're to a point where we've done more of the heavy lifting, but there's certainly an ongoing component to it as well. But initially, like I've said in some of the other meetings, what we're trying to do is collect information on all of the assets that we own and identify them in a system where we're capable of tracking them over time. So the first part is the identification, and we don't have all of our assets properly identified. And even the ones that are identified are not all systematically in like the same location that we can, you know, track them and analyze them and study them together. So that's a big first step that could take a while.
So this would include asset tags?
Potentially, you know, and even taking a step back, part of what we need to do initially is determine which system is appropriate to put this information in. I believe it will be GIS or some different version of GIS than we have now. But I think we need to go through a process and make sure that if we're going to make a move in terms of, GIS or an add-on component to the GIS system, that we're doing it carefully and we're doing it once. So this person would be part of that evaluation process as well. But heavily involved in GIS and other technology systems, because I think there's other aspects of this, like how do we tie in our fleet assets? And so there's a whole different branch of technology called telematics that you can pull in information off of vehicles and get kind of real-time data and blend that into your asset system. And just kind of going down the list. Now there's other components. Matthew talked about some financial aspects to the position, where tracking the value of contributed assets over a period of a year will be helpful for reporting purposes financially. And there's also an operational component to the position where they can analyze some of the processes that we have set up for different things like complaint tracking. Did we follow up on a complaint in the amount of time that we said we would? Or permit processing with the same kind of approach for public works permits.
Follow-up question on assets. How are we defining asset? Obviously, a plow truck is an asset.
Mhm.
A hammer is probably an asset. I don't know. How about a retention pond, which has a lifespan and?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
retention ponds an asset. How about, is it just going to be public works, or are you going to be looking at squad car as an asset, a fire truck as an asset, something in the library as an asset? How broad does this get?
Well,
We're actually gonna
I mean,
take time to do
certainly facilities and the components of facilities would be assets, but that's something that we as Public Works manage for the village. I would say that, there'd certainly be an open invitation to any other department to have their equipment or assets be a part of this
Okay.
system as well.
And this does include, say, water lines, sewer lines.
No, it does, yeah.
Awesome, because that's going to be a really big one in the future.
Yeah.
And the money is in the budget. You put this in your budget for this person for this year. So if the budget's approved, it's in, right?
If the budget is approved, then yes, it will be a position and it would be placed at this 4, which is, I believe, where Matthew had it penciled in the budget as well. How it gets paid for exactly in the 2025 budget,
That's
I
Matthew's
have to
problem.
defer to
Okay.
Matthew.
But it's in the budget, I guess, was my thing. And once again, if we could just put on the motion, if it's okay with the second, assuming that the budget is approved as it stands, that this would be,
I'll agree with the amendment, please.
and that's all I have.
Trustee Jan Miller.
So this is pretty exciting, knowing what you have in the village and what your assets are. So I have 2 questions. You talked about operating systems and telematics. Is Tyler Munis anywhere close to doing something like this? Do they have an app for this?
They have an asset module that's more on the financial tracking of assets. I think what the Public Works Director is more of,
We're talking about physical assets.
Physical. Okay. All right. All right. So that answers that. So it's really not a good fit, is what you're saying, Matthew?
no, there's nothing in Munis that would accomplish what the Public Works Director is looking to do.
Okay.
There would be some tangential symmetry there with the tracking of assets and their values in Munis, which will significantly help on the auditing side.
Okay. And then is there, the question was, okay, so now we get the inventory, now we find out all our assets. What is this person doing next? Does this person, would they have any time or talent to do grants? It's just a question.
It's possible. I think there's a couple components of the job description that are vague enough to allow for some flexibility. I also don't think that we're having a lot of difficulty with grant writing right now, at least in Public Works. We've been pretty successful with state grants, using the village engineer and the superintendents. So I wouldn't say no to that, certainly. And one strong argument for the position is that the analysis of the data could be helpful when applying for grants and having something to kind of back up what our requests are.
Absolutely. Or you could teach other departments that seem to be hesitant. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
Just when do you plan to fill this? Soon?
Well, it would be in the 2025 budget,
For
so
2025.
If the budget's approved.
if the budget's approved, then yeah, then we could begin with the recruiting process. The person couldn't start until the first of the year.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item E, resolution disallowing the claim of Mayshell Sardina. Who's taking this one?
Nobody wants it.
In our packet, there was I can summarize, in the packet, there was a claim that was filed with the village for some auto damage on a road that was under construction. And typically, I won't state it as an attorney, but the attorney will always say that the village has immunity in situations like this and that they recommend disallowing a claim of this type.
And the
Sure.
caveat being that the person can still file a claim,
With their insurance.
With
They go
their
through their
insurance.
insurance process.
but they could also take us to, like
Small
small
claim.
claims court for our insurance company to potentially pay for it.
Correct. And in looking at the pictures in that, the road was definitely under construction. I'm not sure if it was a closed road. That I didn't see in there, but I would say there was road closed signs there and maybe local traffic only because there was no asphalt down yet on this road. So I would need a motion to kind of, I guess, motion to disallow the claim. It actually should be in the positive, right? So motion to approve the claim.
Well, actually, it's a motion to approve the resolution disallowing the claim.
Disallowing the claim. You're absolutely right.
Make that motion.
I'll second for discussion.
All right. Great. Does you have discussion?
I just saw that there were pictures. This kind of rubs me the wrong way. There were no like pylons or anything, and I know there's been a lot of road construction, especially in my district. I don't know why you can't put a pylon on top of a what's called sewer cap. Do you have a comment, Matt?
Sure. I believe the accident took place on School Road. Is that accurate?
Oh.
Yeah. When that was under construction, there were cones placed on top of the manholes, but they were moved. Same with the road closed signs. You know, they're inconvenient, and the cones in the middle of the traffic lane narrow the road, or at least the appearance that the road is narrower. So we see all the time that those get moved by residents just to facilitate the flow of traffic once the construction is done for the day.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion to approve the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
2-1, motion carries. All right, that concludes all new business. Gotta get back to my, we will go on to reports then. Item A on reports is accounts payable, and there's several in our packet tonight. Any questions or comments for Matthew?
No.
I would just like to note that our new accounts payable clerk started last Monday. She completed her
Oh,
first
good.
full week, and she had a variety or a couple of years of Munis experience, so it's been very beneficial to the finance department.
Great. What's her
What's the
name?
name?
Jennifer Rosick.
Okay.
For those of you who've been on the board, she worked for the Village of Germantown several years ago when I first started, then was in West Bend for the last couple of years. And
Boomerang.
Yeah, we like boomerangs.
Yeah.
yep. So lots of Munis experience. She's been great for the first week.
Great.
Great.
Great. I'll send you an email if I have questions.
Okay, item B, budget to actual report. Nothing on that?
Anything, Matthew, that struck you as?
Yeah.
I didn't see anything. Anything you want to call out?
No, the year to date, we're tracking on revenues and expenses. We talked a little about overtime during the committee of the whole meetings. The fire department has experienced a lot of overtime this year just based on the increased number of calls and the extension of those calls. So that's going to be over budget for 2024. As we discussed in the committee of the whole meetings, the police overtime is going to come in just on budget. I think we budgeted 220. They're projected to come in at 218. So they're doing good there on the salaries and benefits side. On the revenue side, we're continuing to track the recreation revenues. They're going to come in pretty close to on budget. They've been very successful in raising donations and funding their programs. So those are probably some of the highlights that I would mention.
All right, next one is payroll, and I think you discussed part of it in the budget to actual about the overtime reports and that, so. Anything else when it comes to payroll? If not, we'll move on to the employee turnover report. Now, there was some discussion about whether at committee of the whole, whether this report was
Mhm.
what was inclusive
Mhm.
to what we had asked. And I thought it was after some adjustments to it. Is there any other comments to the turnover report? No?
It,
Is what it is.
um, so is there some sort of question, column or anything? Or do you click on anything? Because it says, obviously, somebody is terminates. So this one I'm looking at is 4/7/2008 to 9/6/2024. So it's termination means they left the village of Germantown, but it doesn't necessarily say why. Is that in another report?
No, this is just a blanket report that prints out. I mean, I can tell you who resigned and who terminated, if that's what you want, but no, the ones that are retired, it also just says termination date.
Right,
That's
right.
just their last day worked.
Understood. So it doesn't give you an indication of how many people are retiring versus how many people are just,
But I can tell you if you'd like.
oh, okay. Yeah, I'd like to know.
So on this list alone,
Yeah.
4 of the people resigned and 3 of the people retired.
4 resigned, 3 retired. Okay. And do you have some sort of a list from every department of people that they know that will be retiring within the next 3 to 5 years?
No, sometimes I get a little indication of when somebody is planning on retiring early, but no, we don't. Because normally they talk to WRS and they go through that and then they normally let me know about a month in advance.
Okay. Thanks.
For the record, I will not be retiring anytime soon.
That's what they all say.
Okay, with that, we'll go on to contracts. Any questions on contracts? There is an approval date column within the contracts where it is, where we have one. I mean, they aren't all in there yet, probably because they've been out a while.
Is the approval date essentially the termination date if we don't approve it?
No, so the approval date is the date it was approved either by committee or the village board.
Okay, because I know in the past, long time ago, long
Mhm.
before, what sparked our interest in this was people were missing.
Mhm.
We had,
Lot, yeah.
really, we had a person that kept missing our contract dates and they rolled over.
Mhm.
So I mean, to have that termination, or the end date is kind of important,
Yeah, I can
think.
see a value in
Yeah.
the term.
Yep, and I think that's is especially true for annual contracts.
Right.
You know, some of these where if it's construction, a termination date
Yeah.
might not be, you know.
But where it's, where it is.
Where it's an
set.
annual, you know, every year we pay, you know, I'm gonna say we pay Tyler Munis $125,000, you know, that's good where, you know, we have a renewal date that we have to decide when we're gonna renew that contract. I think that's warranted for those types of annual contracts. And that's something we can work to get those into Munis.
Yeah, you can just,
But as an example, like waste management is a long-term contract. That's like a 6 or 7 year contract. So I
Correct.
don't know when that's up for renewal.
yeah,
And that's the type of information I would like to see on here if possible.
Yep. We certainly can do that.
just a column of, you know, how many years is the contract? Started approval date,
Mhm.
how many years and termination or end of contract? And then we can sort it by year, date, month.
That should get the typeface down to about 5 points.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you can do this horizontally.
It already is.
Hello. Doesn't look horizontal.
I apologize for
Didn't
the,
print out that way,
the
but it is
smaller
on my
font.
page.
Oh.
I try
We
to
did
fit all the columns into one
No, it's
page.
good.
Okay.
I like it. We can see it.
Actually, I was wondering if we could, we haven't had, we sign a contract, or we have a contract every year for $125,000 with Tyler Munis, but I haven't seen any kind of an update with, like what they're doing. Are we going to do that soon?
Yep. So that'll be on the next GGF agenda, on the November
Okay.
agenda. I got there. So the original contract was a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
So
That's
that,
the first one, right?
Yep,
After
so-
the original.
correct. So this one will be up at the end of the year. So on the next GGF, I'm going to bring forward the new proposed contract to GGF, and then if it's
3 years
approved, it'll go
already.
on to village board for approval.
Can't believe it's been 3 years already.
Scary.
Time flies.
Okay. Anything else with contracts? All right, that concludes all items on our agenda tonight. The next meeting would be on the 18th of 18th of November, if everyone's available.
Mhm.
All right. Monday, the 18th, and we will start that at 5:30 again.
Thank you.
And with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 6:39. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
That's my girl.
Oh, this little pretty lady. Oh my goodness, she's adorable.
I had a big guy, a 90-pounder, but he passed away from liver failure. I
Oh.
put him down in May.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So this one, is just, I have to find out, her birthday's this month.
Oh, happy
Of course,
birthday.
well, yeah, I get cake and everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I go all out.
Happy.
But she's such a sweetheart. I got her from a breeder who knew the breeder,
Oh, perfect.
who happened to not want to breed this dog. And
I'll
so,
take it.
yeah,
I'll take it.
she wasn't cheap, but you
No,
know
no,
what?
they normally aren't, but,
Yeah,
worth it.
I can't be without.
oh,
Yeah,
they're the best. They're the best.
yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Love it. How old is she?
I'm going to be 2 this month.
Just a baby. Just a baby.
And all she wants is love. Oh my gosh. I've never had a female before. And the
We've always
males,
had females.
really, because the males are a
Also
little
never had
bit
a
more, yeah. But she's, every time I turn around, she's right there. And like, I'll go home like tonight. And I've kind of turned the dining room into my office a little bit because I have stuff all over the dining room table. I have a chair and TV and everything. and She'll sit right next to the chair.
Mhm.
Then all of a sudden, both front paws are on the arm of the chair. and she just wants her chest rubbed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it feels so good, she falls over. It falls. She goes upside down.
Oh, yeah.
But super affectionate and,
Awesome.
yeah, always.